Our show's what you know. We'll always watch TV. And if you think we can't, we'll watch more and you'll see. That's why the people of the web believe in Jim from Las Vegas and Jakob from Sweden.
Shows What You Know, your television podcast. Welcome, everyone. TV is still out there. We're still watching it. I'm Jim from Las Vegas.
I'm Jakob from Sweden, and by gosh, is there TV out there, and by darn it, are we still watching it. We'll keep sucking down the slop as long as they keep making it. And actually, we're talking about some good stuff today. I shouldn't start out that negatively.
Yeah.
But on the business side, it's all slop. We'll talk some industry news. We're going to talk about new reboots like Scrubs, for example. Maybe we got some other shows we've been watching, like A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the new Wonder Man, various other stuff we might get into. But, first of all, how are you, Jim? It's been a while. What's going on? What's the crack?
Oh, I'm good. Just hanging in here, just holding on, trying to produce content for the masses. Jacob, how about yourself?
We're all part of the infinite slop machine. A slot machine or slop machine? Hey, it's all one thing, really. Yeah, we're going to have to start off with some news here. We've been chronicling the development of this deal as Paramount and Netflix fight over the fate of Warner Brothers Discovery. It's the love triangle to end all love triangles, and it seems like Paramount Skydance, or Paramount Skydance Corporation, or whatever the fuck they're calling themselves. It seems that Paramount has won and will be absorbing Warner Brothers Discovery into their corporate maw. A bit of a turnaround because Warner had agreed, when we talked a couple of months ago in December, Warner had agreed to be acquired by Netflix, to the point that, as you told me before recording, Netflix was even sending out emails like, I don't know, was it along the lines of, well, good news, we're gonna own these properties, or what were they telling people?
Yes, yeah. Let me see. Do I still have it? Because I remember getting it, and I was like, well, done deal. There we go. Yeah, actually, here it is. It was dated Saturday, December 6th, 2025. Welcoming Warner Brothers to Netflix. We recently announced that Netflix will acquire Warner Brothers, including its film and television studios, HBO Max and HBO. This unites our leading entertainment service with Warner Brothers' iconic stories, bringing some of the world's most beloved franchises like Harry Potter, Friends, The Big Bang Theory, Casablanca, Game of Thrones, and the DC Universe together with Stranger Things, Wednesday, Squid Game, Bridgerton, and K-pop Demon Hunters. What's changing? Nothing's changing today. But streaming services will continue to... both streaming services will continue to operate separately. We have more steps to complete before the deal is closed, including regulatory and shareholder approvals. You'll hear from us when we have more to share. In the meantime, we hope you'll continue enjoying watching as much as you want, whenever you want, all on your current membership plan. We know you might have questions. Check out our help center for more information or contact us at any time. Thank you for choosing Netflix. We're committed to bringing you more great TV shows, movies, games, and live programming. This is embarrassing at this point now.
Yeah, that was a little too early to be sending out that email, because Paramount came back, as we detailed in a previous episode, they came back with an offer directly to shareholders. They're like, no, we're not accepting this. We're going to overpay even more because we've built our whole business model. Our business model is acquiring other businesses and owning the entire market. So Paramount raised their offer, and then crucially, the Trump administration has been putting a bit of pressure on Netflix. In fact, Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos visited the White House last week, and then the announcement was that the company would stop trying to acquire Warner. So it seems like it's over because Netflix backed out, and the main thing that makes me think this is actually happening is that the original deal with Netflix and Warner Brothers, the one that they emailed you about, they had a $2.8 billion signing fee, right? That was, if the deal fell apart, Netflix would get $2.8 billion, which is a pretty, that's probably why they felt confident enough to be sending those emails. But as it turns out now, Netflix is saying Paramount has paid them $2.8 billion as a breakup fee for the whole Warner Brothers Discovery deal. So not only are Paramount out there swinging money around to acquire it, they're also paying Netflix off to go away and stop this fucking bidding war.
Yeah. which it's just wild. Like, I mean, the thing is, if we were smart, we would have been in on Netflix on their stock because their stock surged. So that's all they really needed, right, Jacob? That's all that matters. Well, I mean, of course, they want content that they could just shovel out as well. But I mean, as a consolation prize, they'll take almost $3 billion and then a nice bump on their stock because that's what it's really all about, Jacob.
True. I've been reading, obviously, a bunch of articles about this because I find it fascinating. And there was one that was sort of detailing the mood in the different three companies as this news broke. And maybe surprisingly, Netflix seemed kind of the most chill. I mean, obviously, they got 2.8 billion, but it's also like they're still a good business. They're not in trouble versus what's happening now with Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery, because of course, like, they are looking for synergies, and everybody knows what synergies mean. When Paramount-Warner combine, they will have about $90 billion in debt. So the way this works with all of these giant mergers is usually that once you've merged the two companies, you're buying it with debt that then the new company still has to pay, which is just bonkers, really. But basically, the new company will have $78 billion in debt, but I think that's on top then the Warner Brothers Discovery debt that they currently have. So in the past 4 years, Warner Brothers Discovery, they took on more than $50 billion in debt, and they've only been able to reduce it to $30 billion. So now this new company that's combined is going to have $90 billion in debt, which is about 7 times what it will earn based on what the two companies are earning that. So the only way to cut that and make it somewhat not profitable, but to cut down the debt is to cut cost. And of course, the Ellison family is out there saying that they're going to get at least $6 to $9 billion in synergies, which again just means layoffs. And if you look at the amount of employees, I think Warner has 35,000, Paramount has 17,000. So I actually, one of my sources on this is a newsletter called The Big Newsletter, which is exclusively about market power and antitrust. So it's by Matt Stroller at thebignewsletter.com, and he's a former policymaker that talks about monopoly power and how these sorts of things work. And he was doing just some back of the napkin maths there, concluding that there'll be at least 15 to 20,000 layoffs from the total of about 50,000 employees, sort of laying off a third of the company. That's, of course, with Warner CEO David Zaslav, the genius who rebranded HBO Max to Max, the one to watch for HBO. He's going to get a severance package of $567 million once this deal goes through. So don't worry, he'll elevate himself into a billionaire. What a world we live in, Jim.
I mean, I'm not sure if people were just spitballing, but some people were saying he could even potentially keep the gig when it gets brought over. But who knows? I mean, the layoffs, that does suck, but I feel like that was going to happen regardless. I don't think it's not like Netflix was going to keep people on when they absorbed the company. So, I mean, it really was like, it wasn't really a win scenario either way. And I understand, obviously, a lot of people have concerns as far as, this Paramount CBS conservative thing that they're going to have if they're controlling CNN now, at least as far as like politics here in the US, or I guess even politics worldwide, whatever it might be. So, I mean, again, I go back to, like, I know it's probably selfish, but to me, not that this is not going to save movie theaters. I know they're going to go back on any promises they have, but at the very least, Netflix for sure wants to kill movie theaters. And this was a bigger kill shot for them than the other way. And again, I don't think Paramount's going to really keep the sanctity of the theater in mind either. Anyways, I mean, whatever makes money makes money. If they have to launch their own streaming and put everything to streaming, they're going to do the same thing. But yeah, I mean, it's just this is what happens now. I mean, I guess this has been happening for decades at this point, because I know. I was too young to follow it at the time, but the whole, AOL, Time Warner, and Comcast, Universal, like, these are just things that happen. These conglomerates are realizing that our schlocky entertainment is the best way to get into our minds and into our pockets. So they just keep buying up all of our studios. So it
True.
goes.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And Warner Brothers it might just be the poison pill. Like, it's notorious for not being profitable, right? Warner Brothers has been through 4 different owners, or will now be through 4 owners, with Time Warner, AT&T, and then Discovery bought Warner Brothers. That's how it became Warner Brothers Discovery, and now Paramount is buying all of that. And as you mentioned, they'll now own Warner Brothers TV Group, which also includes things like Cartoon Network. Obviously, it's scripted and unscripted stuff, but also CBS Studios, Paramount Television Studios. There will probably be some genuine synergies, right? You don't need the same administrative roles in the same company if you're able to combine. That's the argument people always put forward for why mergers supposedly aren't illegal, but even though they clearly are. But I think it is gonna, as you said, no matter who wins, we lose. The Alien versus Predator thing you said before. But just as an example, right? We all know Fox was bought by Disney, and I found this fascinating. When Disney bought Fox, the number of released films by the 2 studios fell by 44%. So they just end up putting out less movies. And it's not the best example, but I keep thinking of those, how we used to always get 2 movies about the same thing at the same time from different studios. And that's not necessarily an example of great cinema, but the reason that ends up happening is people are actually competing. They have to compete for your attention, and now there's just going to be 1 movie of everything instead. They have no reason to do that. There will be less things put out overall, for sure, as a result of this. I mean, they're going to lay off loads of people, etc., and I think we're all going to suffer for it, as you said. But another question is this even legal? It definitely seems like it wouldn't be, because so this is the insight you get when you're actually reading from like a policymaker, like at the big newsletter.
That's what I was going to ask.
So there's this thing, the Clayton Act, which is basically what goes into this stuff, and it is a little bit vague. It says that mergers that may substantially lessen competition or tend to create a monopoly are illegal, but there's some more specific guidelines here. So, and these are only from 2023, so this is like pretty recent updates to how the law should be interpreted. So courts are skeptical of, and I'll list you out a few things, and you let me know after I list them if you think any of these apply. For example, mergers in concentrated markets. Mergers of head-to-head rivals, mergers that create a firm that might limit access to products or products its rivals use, mergers in industries already trending to consolidation, mergers that are part of a series of acquisitions, mergers that lessen leverage for workers, creators, or suppliers. Do you think any of these apply in these situations?
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting, but I also go back to the Netflix thing. It feels like they were both in a similar path, but they both they don't care. I mean, I guess maybe they know that they're either avenue would have can grease enough palms where it's gonna get pushed through. Because also, I mean, I don't know how true this is, because I wish I did more research, but I've heard that Netflix's loophole was they pitched themselves as a tech company rather than an entertainment company, which is so fucking wild to me. It's like, come on. But backing up to what at least the current path we're on, because again, this has changed so many times. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to happen until it actually happens. Like with Paramount, it does seem it hits checks all those boxes that you just mentioned.
Yeah, and I think only 6 months ago or something like that, we were chatting about Paramount's other acquisition. Well, the acquisition of Paramount by Skydance, which is why it's now Paramount Skydance, and I think the new Ellis CEO was out talking about how this is going to be great for creatives and creative workers, and obviously we know that's not the case, but if you look at this list of bullet points of things that might make it illegal, just think if you write a script, right, and you're trying to sell it, and there's 2 bidders, Paramount and Warner's, there's now only 1 bidder, right? It immediately decreases competition for your work. There's a monopolization inherent to it. And that's setting aside the fact that if you look at movie tickets, maybe there's something to be said for, entertainment is not just movie tickets, but since we're talking about filmmaking, Paramount was the number 5 movie studio in 2025 in terms of movie tickets. So they had 6.5% of market share, and Warner was number 2 with 21.7% market share. So that's inching up, not quite 30% of all movie tickets sold, but it's getting close. And apparently 30% is a legal threshold that makes it presumptively illegal. But you're right. That's only one part of the industry, right? Netflix's this thing is obviously a joke, but every company tries to pitch itself as a tech company because then there's just infinite cash. Just look at WeWork, which is a real estate company, managed to massively inflate their valuation just by saying they're a tech company instead. Somehow, magically, they're worth more because they have beer on tap or whatever. And then obviously we know that all crashed and came tumbling down, but the buildings are still there and the WeWork still exist even after it all crumbled because, if you're rich, everything turns out fine.
Well, and it's weird too. I forget if we mentioned this last time we talked about this because, on one hand, Warner Brothers did have an amazing 2025, at least theatrically with movies. Between like Sinners and Weapons and there's a few others, but like, who's the guy? Because I don't. That's not Zaslav making those choices. Like, are those just like dumb luck? Is there actually someone? Are there some? I guess there are some people there, whether it be producers or studio heads. They're like the Seth Rogen of the studio that kind of do care a little bit and try to get something that has great market appeal, but also like artistic integrity. It's interesting.
That article I read that was detailing the mood in the different companies, it was very much within, I don't remember if it was Warner Brothers or Paramount, but both of those companies, are the people actually working there are obviously worried because all their jobs are at risk. But also, if you're working at Warner Brothers Discovery, as we said, this is the fourth owner in less than a decade. They've been passed around, divisions have been cut, and it was literally like some executive that was anonymous in the article saying like, I just try to keep my head down and make shows or make movies. Like, I just try to keep loving it, and there are definitely like, you only work in that part of it if you're actually passionate about it, and then obviously the grind of the business wears you down over time. But yeah, there's absolutely wonderful, creative, and interesting people making fun, creative, and interesting things in both of these companies, and at least a third of them are losing their jobs. So I think that's the headline here. While the likes of David Zaslav gets $500 million just to exit.
Well, that's why it's hilarious too. On like, obviously I host a podcast called Jim and Them. We are, lovingly noted as the Anti-Corey podcast every episode. But like, so I was seeing these announcements, they were announcing Goonies 2 is in development, Gremlins 3 is in development. And then in hindsight, you realize that, sure, they put those in development and maybe they'll come out, but they're really only announcing those because they are trying to bulk up their value. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're like, that gets people talking. It's like, oh yeah, Warner Brothers owns this, they owns this. And it's actually, they might put this out. That could be a hit. It's kind of, it doesn't matter if they put that out or not. What matters is they have headlines about it, and now you can bulk up the value of the company and get like, Netflix foaming at the mouth or Paramount foaming at the mouth. And I guess that, like, kind of what we were talking about earlier, like the tough thing is I feel like Netflix is looking to just consolidate all of Hollywood and, have it all under its Netflix app, you know what I'm saying? And then not have any other competition. And then Paramount, or at least the Ellisons, it does seem like they're going after the new, like they're going after content as well, but it does seem like they're going after the news. So it really is kind of like, fuck. It doesn't really, it's kind of a bum out either way. I mean, I guess you did see things like James Cameron was like speaking out against the Netflix acquisition. I don't know if he said anything about the Paramount side of things. What did the Duffers sign with? Did they sign with Paramount after they left Netflix?
They left Netflix and signed Paramount. So I guess they are actually free of Netflix. They were about to be just absorbed by the same business, but
So
which would have
it's
been hilarious. To be clear, also, like, I'm talking about why I think Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery, that merger would be illegal. I also think the Netflix merger should be considered illegal as well. But the question of the legality is all about what gets enforced. And primarily this is enforced at a federal level, which is why there's so much talk about President Trump and things like that, right? Because he's very chummy with the whole Ellison family, and he has indicated that he expects them to reorient, as you were saying, CNN to be a bit more conservative and friendly towards him, as they've already done for CBS very happily. So with CBS, CNN, HBO, and ownership of the US operations of TikTok, the Ellison family are truly vaulting into realms we've never seen before in terms of control over tech and media ecosystem, and they're closely aligned with the administration, just kind of fusing corporate and government power in a way that is truly chilling, no matter who sits at the helm of that amount of power.
Sure.
So,
and they also have a lot of Saudi money backing this as well. Is that also true?
I don't know as much about that, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It's all the same rich people running the world, unfortunately.
Sure.
But yeah, I think you had a good point as well about the reboot and the recycled IPs. We all know that media is it seems to be all recycled IPs for nostalgia and things like that. We're all stuck in a loop of using things that have been valuable in the past because it's a more safe bet. And the more things are consolidated, the more it becomes we make fewer things and we put more money into those things, the more important it is to have a safer bet. And that's why things like Sinners can be so exciting, because they're so rare now to see something that doesn't have an earlier version of it. And it just feels like in this world, we're just moving towards less and less of that. Because as you said, the whole part of the appeal of buying Warner Brothers Discovery is that IP, right? It's not about the people working there or the getting the fucking Burbank lot or whatever, because who knows what's going to happen with that. It's all about owning the IP so you can make more recycled stuff, and also own the old stuff and put it out there. So it just feels sad.
One last thing though is I do feel like maybe we could deal with less TV shows, maybe even less movies to a certain extent. But you're right. While I think that, but not in the direction where they want to do, where it's just always remakes. But like, there's too many streaming things. There's too many shows now. Like, and it's so like, again, I'm not saying that we're gonna get quality. I'm just saying in a vacuum, we kind of do have too much. Too many movies, too many shows. Sorry.
Possibly. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I was reading something about how that is actually going down now. I mean, we kind of left the peak behind us, but I don't have the numbers, so I can't really back that up. But I've read some stuff that indicates that peak, that over sort of saturation of more and more stuff is more to do with where we were at maybe 5 years ago, and we're still seeing the sort of holdover of that, and now we're heading into not a drought, but more of a condensed situation.
Well, I know I'm I'm an old man now, so it's always like the good old days. But it's like, when I was growing up, we had 5 networks and like 4 cable stations. And then maybe there was basic cable as well. But now, and especially because shows were longer, so you just had those shows. But now that shows are like 8 to 10 episodes, one network or streaming place will have like 4 of those instead of this is a whole different discussion. But either way.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. There's lots of open questions still, like will HBO Max and Paramount Plus continue as separate entities? Will they eventually merge? And obviously the deal hasn't fully gone through yet because all these things take months and months and months to actually settle.
2 years even, yeah.
Years. There are also, even though, as I said, it's mostly regulated at a federal level, there's indicators that there might be some challenges coming at a more state level. Within California, for example, they're talking, I don't know if it was the governor or who, talking about how they're looking into this. They just have less of a chance of actually doing anything about it than at the federal level. So it seems settled, but sure, it's an ongoing saga, and it's, it gives us something to talk about. I find this stuff at least as interesting as the actual TV shows we're discussing. And by the way, the 3 TV shows I brought to the table today, 1 reboot, one spin-off, and 1 superhero show. So, we could get into that now, I guess.
Well, and let's move on. There was something I'd say I forget now, but whatever. Moving on. Actually, where the fuck was it? I should have had these ready.
We can't do this without the jingles. That's what people keep coming back for.
What TV shows have you been watching? Tell me, I gotta know.
Ooh, I mean, I guess we've been watching a lot of the same stuff. What have you been watching, Jacob?
Oh, where do you even want to start? We've been watching, maybe this is relevant actually, we've been watching Wonder Man, new superhero TV show, relatively new at this stage, and I think you put me onto it relatively positively. What would you say is different about Wonder Man?
Well, let me start out by saying I loved Wonder Man. I don't think it's because of this, but I had no anticipation for it. Because I mean, again, this is the like the expectations they've set with their Marvel TV Disney Plus shows. You know what I mean? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
And it's not because everyone thinks they have it figured out, where it's like, and I think even the CEO, Bob Iger, would be like, hey, you don't need to do homework. You don't need to watch the movies. And I get that idea, but that hasn't been the problem. The problem with these shows, like you're learning the wrong things. I get you don't need to make things too homework heavy, where if you didn't watch the latest Marvel release, then you're turning off audience. The problem is the shows have not been good. It had nothing to do with the connections. But either way, Wonder Man is pitched as I forget, it's called like Marvel Spotlight or something like that, where it's supposed to be not connected to anything, even though it kind of is pretty heavily. I mean, there's a character.
What are you talking about? There's heaps of connections.
Exactly. But they're trying to pitch it. They're trying to like reposition these things this way. But
they are marketing it as a mini series, right? Like it's not supposed to have any. It's like much like the Penguin, right? It's like supposed to be its own thing and not a whole start of a Wonder Man series.
But what does set it apart is that it's definitely unlike any other Marvel TV show or movie as well. It is about a character with superpowers, but that's not the focus point. The character himself, doesn't want these powers. If anything, it's kind of a detriment to what he's trying to do, because this is a show. This is more like the studio. This show is about Hollywood. It's about creativity. It's about passion and dreams. Like, it's honestly like so fucking good. I loved it so much.
I'm glad. I also liked Wonder Man a lot, but I think maybe you're a little bit more on positive. So go off, keep talking.
I mean, we got Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley's returning because, again, this is the stuff you kind of need to know. Although I guess you could watch it. The show gives you enough. But Ben Kingsley, who famously was the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, but that turned out to be all smoke and mirrors. He was essentially a false flag. The character that he plays is Trevor Slattery, who's an actor that was hired to pretend to be the Mandarin. And then he did pop up again in Shang-Chi as this character. And they have a lot of fun with that, and they explore that a bit more in this one. We have Simon Williams, who's our Wonder Man, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen, who's so good. Like, he brings like a great, because I mean, he's this fucking jacked, good-looking dude, but he also, it's very buyable that he's kind of like not necessarily hiding something, but vulnerable, I guess. Like, he brings like a good vulnerability to it.
Yeah.
And it also, what I also love about this show is that, yes, while there's a huge arc to the show, it still is kind of as episodic as these shows, as I've ever seen these shows be. It's not quite old school episodic, but it's pretty fucking close to it. And I do think the writing's sharp, the acting's sharp, and there's only like one fight scene in it.
True.
And yeah, I love it's a two-hander in a lot of cases. Like, it is a buddy show.
A bromance.
Yes, and I think their relationship is great. I think they have great chemistry. And it's the classic bromance where, like, one of the guys has a secret, and how's that going to affect them when that secret comes out, and will their relationship survive? Like, honestly, I've been gushing about this show here and there on Jim and them, just saying how I haven't got into specifics, but just saying how much I loved it. And I don't know. I mean, part of it could just be that, again, I went in with no expectations. But the other thing is, it's the simple thing we ask you to do. Do something a little different. Put some thought and have some confidence behind what you're doing. Bring some decent writing and decent performances. Like, I know that sounds so simple, but it's consistently failed with so many projects that it is really like refreshing to see something that nails it. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, as you started out saying, it's a show for people like us, for people who do a podcast talking about film industry merger. It's a show for people who love movies, and it's made by people who love movies, and you can see that. And it's a comedy, really, as well. There's a lot of Hollywood stuff. There's a lot of meta movie stuff. But it's just to give like a one sentence summary of it. You know, Wonder Man. I mean, I wouldn't be familiar with him myself, but apparently Wonder Man is an old character created by Stan Lee, a superhero character, and Wonder Man's secret identity is called Simon Williams. And in this, Simon Williams is a struggling actor who's hoping to land the role in the movie Wonder Man, which is a remake of an 80s superhero movie. So already you can see the layers of meta and kind of stuff that could feel like it's up its own hole, but they actually managed to pull it off because, as you said, he doesn't want superpowers. He just wants to be an actor. Whenever his superpowers come out, it's kind of like he has a rage issue that flares up, and that's almost like an analogy for that, more so than it is a thing that leads to cool fight sequences or anything like that. They get to play with a lot of stuff like the idea of the exaggerated auteur-director. They have several actors playing exaggerated versions of themselves in a kind of... have the DVD here in a kind of Ricky Gervais extras kind of vibe, right? You have Joe Pantoliano and Josh Gad both playing ridiculous versions of themselves, which is fun. And yeah, it's a big bromance between him and Ben Kingsley, who is not, as he said, playing... he's not playing himself. He's playing Trevor Slattery. And I'd forgot that he was in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, because I don't remember much of that movie. I do remember him from Iron Man 3. But apparently this show is created by two people, one of whom is Destin Daniel Cretton, who directed Shang-Chi and also the upcoming Spider-Man movie. And the other creator is Andrew Guest, who was a writer on Community, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and other sitcoms. And I think that really comes through. It is a very comedic show that still has a bit of depth to it. And I think the length of the episodes really helps that. There's only 6 episodes. They're all about half an hour, which is just great. And every episode, as you said, it's kind of episodic. A different thing is the focus each episode. It's not just cliffhanger. They're actually, writing a show, and it does progress from start to finish and things change. So they, as you said, they just kind of, it's stuff that should be simple, but it's not, because we see people fail at it all the time. And yeah, they do a good job of it.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, I guess we could talk about how, like, the reason why his superpowers are bad, the show does get into how it is like a thing that's been kind of banned or outlawed in Hollywood. Like, no actors with superpowers because of things that have happened in the past. The show gets into it. There's a whole episode about it, which then even it does, that subtext plays into almost like, you know, an actor that was in the closet at one point or something, where it's like, I have this secret, and if that comes out, that could ruin, you know, I have this career, I have a passion for this, and it would be the one thing that I love would be taken away from me. And it's something I don't have a choice over. It's just something about it's who I am. So, but again, but it's not like that could be something that's handled very clumsily, but I feel like all that's handled really well. And in a way, like, it's weird how recent the studio is, because it's so much like that. It's so much like the studio, but just on the same level. I'm not saying that in a bad way, like, oh, it's, you know, a rip on the studio, or it's like a worse version. I feel like they're both hitting really well on the same type of topics. And it is standalone, but it does stand alone in the best way, where, like, when it ends, I'm like, you know what? That's a great ending. But there's also a big part of me that would love if they did more. I would love to see more of these characters. It's a shame that it does feel like Disney Plus just dumped the show without much, you know, like media push behind or advertising. And I guess that's just because they've burnt themselves. I was almost going to say they've been burned, but no, they've burnt themselves putting out like such trash in the past that people don't get excited. So they just kind of dumped it with really no hoopla or anything behind it. But I do think the critics have been positive on it. So I do hope it did well. Because and I did listen to not Destin Daniel Cretton, which this did make me more excited to see what he brings to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But the other co-creator I listened to was it Andrew Guest?
Yes.
I listened to an interview with him, and he was saying all the right things. Where like he did kind of say that they all do have kind of a want to do more, but he was also very direct and being like, yeah, it's not like we're gonna then catch up in Wonder Man's is fighting with the Avengers or something like that. He's like, that's not where we're going. So
yeah,
that's kind of a good sign, I'd say.
No, if anything, it'd be like Wonder Man is now making propaganda for the US or whatever. He's been captured and he gets to make movies and stuff, but only with specific propaganda messages, and he has to deal with that. That seems like the sort of thing they can carry on with. And yeah, Andrew Guest, I was looking at his credits, and this guy made he wrote some of the best episodes of Community, like
wasn't he
Fistful of Paintballs, Advanced
right.
Dungeons and Dragons. So, and that's the kind of meta vibe that they actually nail in this, which is why I think it works. So yeah. Sorry, what were you going to say?
That's great. Well, no, I was going to say, wasn't he involved in one of the paintball episodes?
Yep.
So that's great because I mean, the Russos famously also have that similar background.
True.
I mean, with them, anything else they put out besides Marvel has been trash. So hopefully Andrew Guest has more going on for him. But now I loved this show. I probably want to rewatch it before the end of the year. And I would highly recommend it.
Cool. The only thing that made it a bit hard to watch for me at times is that, speaking of things like extras and The Office, there's a good bit of cringe comedy in it. One of the central factors about the main character, Simon Williams, is he's kind of insufferable. Like, he's good at acting, but he is a bad actor because he is bad at talking to people. He gives endless opinions and has the attitude of an attitude star when he is a nobody. It is I think it's interesting as a character trait, but it also makes it hard for me to watch. I had to watch some of it with the sound off because I was like, he's gonna fuck this up. I want him to do well. Like, it shows I care, right? But I'm like, he's finally gotten cast and he's being such a fucking dickhead, and he's only worrying about like his interview in the New York Times or whatever. He's not actually doing any acting, and the show is interspersed with these moments where he does acting, and they do acting within the show of acting as a different character, and they fucking nail it. And I'm like, that's great, that's new and interesting, and I haven't seen as much of that. I would have liked to see a bit more of that, but maybe that's a reason to hope that they make some more of it. And on Ben Kingsley's side, not to let him off scot-free, I have one problem with him as well in this, which is his accent, because he's seriously doing like a John Lennon cartoon voice. I think it's supposed to be a Birmingham accent. John Lennon's from Liverpool, but either way, it does not sound realistic. It doesn't sound like anything like his own voice. And I'm like, he is English. He should be able to do this. But I think he's I guess he's just too posh. Like, he's a really posh English guy and he's doing like a bad working class accent. I realized this wouldn't be a problem in the US because it's like, you're all foreigners to me. You're all limey,
I can't believe that you have the balls to criticize an accent choice by Sir Ben Kingsley. Like,
I do.
I can't believe this.
I thought it was going to be a reveal that he was playing a character. I thought he was going to drop that voice, but I guess he must have done something similar in Iron Man 3. But anyway, besides those little details, it's a quick watch. It's a good show, even though it's a superhero show, and that's getting rarer and rarer to say. But they did actually do something different this time, and it's uniquely geared towards us. So if you have any similar sensibilities, if you listen through us ranting about mergers within the media industry, you'll definitely like this show.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly doing the things most people say they want Marvel to do. And it's like, well, if this is what you want Marvel to do, this is it. This is the thing you should watch.
True.
But
What TV shows have you been watching? Tell me, I gotta know.
Scrubs is back, Jacob. I'm very interested to hear what you thought because you had mentioned something about psychosis. I need you to explain what that means.
I just watched there's 2 episodes of Scrubs out. Scrubs 2026 or Scrubs season 10, depending on how you label it. And watching it, it just felt like a completely surreal, strange experience of I don't even know if I can explain it, but there are jokes that land. I enjoyed some parts of it, but overall, I found it to be so strange to be back in this simulacrum of the Sacred Hearts Hospital, where everything is too sharp. The colors are really poppy. They make the exact same types of music choices and sound effects and things like that. And yet for me, it didn't really land. I think maybe I had too much saturation on my TV or something, but this is not Wonder Man. This is not a reimagining. It's the same show. They seem to be doing exactly the same show as Scrubs, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that's what we often say with like the Buffy reboot or whatever. We're like, do the same thing. We liked it back then. But turns out with Scrubs, maybe I didn't want that because it's the same show, but they're all older. And so why wouldn't I just watch the original show? What is different about this? But I don't know. What were your first takes? I don't want to go on a long rant here up top.
I loved it. Everything you're describing is a feature, not a bug.
Okay.
Especially with something like Scrubs, because I think you're quickly forgetting that Scrubs tried to do something different and it was horrible. So
like Med School?
Yes, there's Scrubs Med School, which I guess was that season 9?
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
Okay. So like maybe that's why I'm giving it more grace, because honestly, I'm not saying that I wanted Scrubs to come back, but if you're telling me Scrubs is coming back, this is what I want. This is okay. If you're like, hey, Scrubs is coming back, this exactly like when I turned it on and I was loving it, I was like, I didn't want to ask you. I was like, oh, what is Jacob talking about? I was like, I'm gonna wait until we're recording. Because outside of it, like things are rushed for sure, but that's because it's it still keeps that 22-minute runtime. So the first episode, like everything gets rushed through, especially like we meet a bunch of new characters and all this shit. But like, I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't want to spend more. Like, again, going back to Scrubs Med School, we have a different JD. We have a lady JD and she's the narrator, and it fucking sucked. It was awful. Like, don't do that. I don't want you to do that. I want you to catch up with these characters where they're at now. They're still a little bit different. I mean, Turk's not Turk, really. I mean, he is, but he isn't.
But he's depressed,
Yeah, they're
that was like one of the parts I liked.
No, I like that too. Like, because Scrubs always had that balance of, wacky comedy, but trying to have some like heart and some dramatic moments. I mean, you could argue, if they nail the performances or not, but I think they just got it. I think, again, it's similar to like them falling back into a groove. I think they nailed it quite enough. And I mean, I think because I was surprised, I didn't see that Bill Lawrence was writing these. It was like two other writers or two other people were credited as developing the show, which I thought was interesting because in my eyes, it didn't really miss a beat. And again, I'm not saying I necessarily was clamoring or wanted this, but if you're saying, if ABC's like, hey, we're bringing back Scrubs, this is what I'd take then. Give me, it goes back to when we listened to their podcast. I want Turk and JD I want their relationship. I want the same type of vibe, but there's like small differences. I mean, the whole thing is getting JD back in the hospital in more of the Dr. Cox type role and what that means. I think I'm on board fully. I get everything you're saying. I do get, but maybe it's because I've also just kind of like, we've seen this done so many times with other properties, and usually they try to do some bullshit and it sucks. So I'd rather just take. Like, at least in my opinion, it's not a bad like when Dan Harmon left Community and they tried to keep it Community, but other people clearly didn't get Community. Like, if this is different people, I think Bill Lawrence must still have some involvement. It still feels the same. Like, I'd rather have that than someone who is doing a bad impression of it or trying to change it and doing that badly.
Okay. Great. I'm really glad that it landed for you. It didn't really land for me. I think what you said about, because you're saying now like you want the same thing. I feel more like what you said about Wonder Man, right? I need things to be different at this stage. I need them to do something more innovative, which has not got so much to do with Scrubs itself and more about TV and how making TV shows has changed, because
Yeah.
back in 2001, Scrubs was innovative. You know, they were just the fact that they were doing a single camera comedy and they were cutting to goofs sometimes. I mean, Friends was the big TV show at the time. The Sopranos was still just starting out. What they were doing was kind of at the forefront of what you can do in a TV comedy. But now, when it's shot in the exact same way with the exact same stuff, some of it does still work, but somehow to me it feels closer to those old multi-camera sitcom shows, because we've had the likes of Community since then. We've had things that push the envelope in terms of what you can do with a TV comedy. So rewatching this now felt kind of strange to me, because everyone's just kind of older, and some of the sound effects and things, like doing a high five, and you have a sharp high five sound effect and all this sort of stuff. I don't know why it doesn't work. I think it's maybe part of the same problem as when you're rewatching like an old show in high definition. You know, I've been rewatching Buffy, and I've watched some of it in HD and some of it in sort of the original DVD cut and stuff like that. And when you watch anything old in high definition, it's like more obvious that they're in sets, because it's not designed for that sort of viewing. It's not made to be viewed in that high of a definition. But that sort of feeling comes with me now, where everything feels more fake and more like a set, and I wasn't able to get into it for that reason. But ironically as well, the original Scrubs wasn't a set. You know, they shot it in an actual hospital, whereas now they've had to recreate it up in Vancouver, because that hospital has since been demolished.
Yeah.
And they did a very faithful reconstruction. I actually watched a video on YouTube from Architectural Digest where they do a whole tour of the new set. They've reconstructed very faithfully, but somehow with the new cameras and everyone also being more wrinkly, it just ended up being something I couldn't quite get into, at least not in the first 2 episodes.
While I get what you're saying, I don't think that's fully fair. I don't think, like you said, Scrubs was innovative when it came out. It's not Scrubs' job anymore to be innovative. It's not the show's fault that other shows kind of took their lead, whether it be, you know, something like Community or a lot of those NBC shows that came after. Now, if this was a property that did other reboots over the past few years or something, I would kind of agree. But what did it end in, like 2011 or something like that? 2010, 2011, or 2012,
I think,
whatever it was.
It's been like 15 years, I guess, yeah.
So, at least from my point of view, it's not their job anymore. They already did their thing. They made a mark on TV. And if they're coming back, they're completely within their rights to just kind of just give you what they promised initially. And, you know, like again, and in a weird way, I think you're right. It does harken more back to a classic sitcom, just the way some of the humor's handled. But I think that is also its own thing. And I think that is not really innovative, but I do think it's different for now, because, you know, everything tries to be like 30 Rock or something. Or actually, I never really watched 30 Rock. Everything tries to be The Office still, for the most part, even though The Office
which is long far from innovative. I mean, I'm enjoying it more than The Paper. All right,
sure. But that's just my point. My point of view is, I get what you're saying, and I don't think it's a rational ask to have if they're going to bring it back. Like, yeah, they should have a reason to bring it back. And maybe I'm being unfair, because I'm not sure I would have this same point of view for Buffy. But I could be wrong when I see it. Maybe it'd be a little bit different. But for whatever reason, the way I look at Scrubs is that Scrubs is okay just coming back and being Scrubs. It doesn't have to be something different. And maybe it is just because I keep coming back to they tried to do something different and I hated it.
True, and honestly, this is still better than later seasons of Scrubs. You know, despite my commentary, it's like there were seasons I disliked towards the end of Scrubs. Even season 8 was kind of okay, but like there were dips in quality throughout the run. So maybe I'm just like, they are doing the same, but they're not hitting the peaks for me yet, which makes perfect sense because there's only 2 episodes. I think they're making like 9 technically, but as we said, they've rebuilt the whole fucking hospital, so it kind of feels like if it does okay-ish and if people watch it, they will definitely make more because they already have the whole set. It wouldn't be that expensive, one imagines. But yeah, I think so far I'm just like, okay, it sticks extremely close to the original. except for, and I think this is from a note I stole from a review in Variety that says, why watch a season? And I know you're going to disagree with this. I just like the
I think I
wording of-
hated this review, by the way. I think I saw this. Is this the one that like compares to The Pit?
I mean,
Or it
yeah,
calls it like
yeah.
it calls it like millennial cringe or something stupid like that. But
Yes,
I'm sorry, I didn't
yes,
mean
it
to
is.
interrupt. Go ahead.
No, but it is that one. I can understand why you didn't like it. But yeah, I think the final line is why watch a season that tries to stick as closely to the original as possible, apart from the inescapable effects of time, when you can just watch the original itself. And I think with 9 seasons of Scrubs already existing, I think I just have more of that resistance to a reboot even existing at all still, especially because, and I'm not a hater, I have the first season right here. I was watching it on DVD not that long ago, and I do really love it, but I don't know, something for me hasn't quite landed yet, but there are 7 more episodes to come, and presumably if things go okay, more episodes after that, so we'll see if it wins me over.
I would retort to that, the person that wrote that article, why ask that question when we've asked that question for 20 years? That's such a tired question. And I think that question only is more apt if they remade Scrubs and it was but it was different actors. If they're like, we got fucking,
that's a good point.
Someone so-and-so as the new JD. And then we brought in, fucking Robert De Niro as Kelso, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't get me wrong, I get it, and I've asked that question a million times. Like, why are we making a fucking what's it called, Little Mermaid, when we could just watch the original?
Yeah,
and I get it. I get that question, but to me, I guess maybe it's because I don't look at this as a reboot. Like, it literally is a continuation. It literally, and it's not like a weird legacy sequel. It literally is like, hey, the show took a break and now we're back. Now we're back with another season. But maybe it could be a wrong way to look at it. That's just how I look at it.
Yeah, maybe my bar is just way too high, because you make good points. Like, it's better than live action Lion King. Like, that's like it's not that. I think I just kind of wanted something that's the Cobra Kai to the Karate Kid, not the Karate Kid 4. You know,
that's a great point. That is a great point. It would be nice if there was this like, new point of view or something. I don't disagree with that. And I mean, again, we all had the same reaction. As you could probably find it on this show, where like, Scrubs is coming back. What the fuck? What are they doing that for? Anyways, that's enough. That's Scrubs. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see how it. I'm excited for the rest of the episodes. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll be able to hit you with some final thoughts on this season of Scrubs once it's out.
Ooh, speaking of final thoughts. Whoop. Where is it? Whoop.
Final thoughts. These are some final thoughts.
Final thoughts, Jacob. Final thoughts on the adventures of Dunk and Egg, a.k.a. to the layman, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yeah, it just doesn't roll off the tongue. We prefer the adventures of Dunk and Egg around here, but last time we chatted about this show, I think we'd only seen the very first episode. We recorded right after the first episode came out. We were positive on it, but, there were 5 episodes to go. Actually, kind of similar format to Wonder Man, now that I think about it. 6 episodes, they're all half an hour each. And now we've seen all of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Dunk and Egg, The Adventures of. And we're going to give you some final thoughts. And I think it's probably going to be quite short, because the only thing from me is, they absolutely smashed it. I fucking loved A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I haven't been as hyped about being in Game of Thrones since for 10 years at least. Actually, probably more at this stage. Since season 4 of Game of Thrones. Yep. All the things we said last time about the pilot, they managed to pull off. If you haven't seen it, it takes place at one tournament, follows one knight and one squire as they bumble their way. And yeah, there's some politics, actually, now that I think about it. There are some princes and stuff like that, but it's all seen through the lens of this one normal dude, this Watson, as people call it in writing terms, of like this not Sherlock Holmes, but Watson, who bumbles into scenarios and kind of has to have everything explained to him, and we follow along as he, eats rations under a tree and takes cover from the rain and the mundane day to day, and they just fucking nailed it. What did you think, Jim?
Dude, I'm 3 for 3. I loved this show. So
I was just thinking that. I don't think we've had that in years. We were talking about the slop apocalypse earlier on,
yes,
but you know what? Maybe TV's back. Jim's positive on TV shows. Are you doing okay? Are you dying?
Maybe they've just beaten me down. I don't know, but yes, I loved this show, and I did not. I mean, I famously did not really like. Weirdly enough, I love this show so much that I kind of want to go and watch the other prequel show, which I wasn't. I don't even remember the name of it now. What was
House
the other one?
of the Dragon? Yeah,
House of the Dragon, which I just was not interested in because again, I just like what I always say is I just don't care who gets on the throne. And then so this show was giving me what I wanted. I don't care who's on the throne, but I'm down to hang out in this universe. I'm down to see like what's going on with especially more of the everyman out there. Even though he's like a tall fucking piece of meat.
Yeah.
But yes, this show was great. It had the things I mentioned after we watched the trailer and did our trailer reaction, where I mean, Wonder Man obviously was like a buddy show. I mean, this is kind of that a little bit, but more in the realm of like, dude and a kid, or like reluctant teacher, like not necessarily a Miyagi Daniels son, but you know what I mean, like around that path, or E.T. Elliot and his alien friend,
the Mandalorian, etc.
Yeah. Well, no, and I was going to bring up the Mandalorian because my only worry is as the show went on, and now we're getting a little bit more entwined with the Iron Throne. That's my big red flag is like, is this going to be the Mandalorian now? The Mandalorian is so bogged down in stupid ass lore that I don't give a fuck about. Like, I'd rather just watch Mando and Grogu go on different adventures to different planets. Like, I don't need to see Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker and all this bullshit. And now I'm worried that this show is going to turn into like that. And I mean, I loved it so much that I've even kind of accidentally read, like, I know their fates. Like, I know.
Oh yeah,
Duncan. Do you know this? I'm not going to say it on the show.
No. I mean, not really. I obviously I have the connections to Game of Thrones. Like, you have scenes in Game of Thrones where Jaime Lannister or whatever, they're flipping through the Book of Knights, and there's like 27 pages on this Dunk guy. What's that about? And then you also have some characters that might appear in Game of Thrones, which we won't get into for spoilers or whatever. So, but I've managed to stay out of specific details on how they end up.
Yeah, I just know I don't know like their adventures. I just know the end of each character. I know how each character ends. But like, even to the point where I'm thinking about, I might grab are they novellas, or are they more short stories, or? Yeah,
they're novellas, but what does that even mean, Jim?
Sure.
But yes, there's 3 of them, and this is based on the first one, The Hedge Knight, which came out in 1999, and then the second one, there's already a second season renewed, of course, was renewed in November of last year, and also, by the way, expected to be released in 2027, supposedly, so maybe we won't have a 2-year wait. Maybe they were able to shoot some, they're shorter episodes, maybe they could get it done, but The Sworn Sword is the second one, came out in 2003, and that's going to be the second season, apparently, and then there's a third one called The Mystery Knight that came out in 2010, but yes, they're like novellas, short stories, what have you.
Well, I love it because honestly, it really harkened back to the early seasons of Game of Thrones, where it just felt like we're getting down to the nitty gritty. It's not about the magic and the Don't get me wrong. I loved how Game of Thrones had that always like in the periphery and like there, but I like that this strips that down the most and is essentially just like a Knight's Tale or some shit. Not literally a Knight's Tale, but you know what I'm saying, a Knight's Tale it was. And wait,
I'm like a prop comedian here. Here's a Knight's Tale on VHS for everyone on the YouTube.
And the whole progression of Dunk and Egg, and even like when we were talking about the first episode, and this has happened multiple times since I saw that first episode. Like, sometimes I think about that end scene and I just get emotional when they're talking about the shooting star. It's so good. Yeah. And then like, yeah, just the natural progression of that, and also the way that Sir Arlen is such a goof, but then he becomes such a great presence over the show, the way that story's doled out, and how Dunk sees him and what he meant to him and stuff like that. It's just like it's like A+ all around. Like, it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting emotional thinking about Sir Arlen, which is stupid.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, Sir Arlen is Penny Tree. That's all great because he's clearly just kind of like a fuck, but Dunk had no one else, and so he respects him so much. Like, in episode 2 is a very similar scene to episode 1, where he's just like, because he realizes none of these people know this man who fought, died, became an alcoholic, presumably all in the service of all these different knights. None remember them, and he just realizes, like, oh, I'm his only legacy. Let them see what his hand has wrought, or whatever he says. And I'm just like, fuck yeah. And when we go into flashbacks, when we see Kid Dunk and all of that, I was a little bit like, oh no, we're doing a flashback episode. Because of course, like, it's 5 episodes or whatever leading up to a massive fight, and I was really worried that we weren't going to get that massive fight that episode, that we were just going to do a bunch of flashback bullshit. But they managed to fit in so much because they're not cutting over to across the narrow sea. They're not cutting here and there. It's all one story, so it actually feels much like Wonder Man. Like, they're just doing one thing, and they're doing it really well. And I don't know if you would like House of the Dragon, because it's really like Game of Thrones split, and all the political stuff went into House of the Dragon, and all the nitty gritty stuff went into Dunk and Egg. So it's possible you would still absolutely hate it. There's dragons and stuff, but that's kind of cool. And some of the politics is fun, but it's really like everyone's just morally reprehensible and vying for control of the throne. And so if that's what you want, that's what you get. That's not what this is. This is something different, and that's what we needed. And they fucking smashed it. And he's Irish as well. So, that's cool.
Yeah, and wasn't he like a rugby player or something like that? Or what?
Oh yeah, you can tell. Look at a fine strapping young lad. Yes, he's a fine fellow. Played for county. And he's great. Good man.
Like he's
like
really his performance is really good. I mean, again, it's similar to kind of compared to Wonder Man. Like, he is this big strapping, tall, fucking slab of meat, but he does bring a great vulnerability to it. Like, I buy that he kind of would still shriek down to people that are, he could technically destroy or whatever, but he, just doesn't have quite that confidence, or is just a little bit meek. And also, I mean, Dexter Soul Ansel as Egg, like, he's really great in it. I mean, because especially when you have, I love, a movie, a show, or whatever with a kid sidekick, but it's so tough to have a kid actor that's going to be able to nail the part. So when they do nail it, like, that's to be celebrated. And maybe that's also a blessing, that, because I was even thinking, you can't fucking fuck around for 3 years. This kid's going to get fucking pretty big and grow pretty quick. You got to get the fuck out there and make use of the idea that you have this source material to fall back on. So, let's bang this shit out already.
Yeah, and with a 2027 date, hopefully to get the next season out, that might actually happen. One of the things watching the season, as you said, he's a massive man, and it does feel a bit like, when you watch maybe the first 3 or 4 episodes, it might feel a bit slow at times, but that just elevates the moment when things actually kick off, or the moments, because like, he does have this really strong moral compass. He's just wandering around getting yelled at by even like stable boys who are like, get the fuck out of my way. And it's like, oh yes, sorry. Like, he's just gormlessly walking around, and then he sees someone being like brutalized that shouldn't be, and he just sees red. And at that moment, it's like, holy shit. Like, it just, that violence feels more real and more impactful because we've spent so much time doing very little. And I mean, after he does some violence for good, which, is the whole thing about being a knight, I got extremely emotional about everyone in the camp being like, you're like, when he's buying armor, he's getting his shield from the armorer.
Yeah.
And he's getting it because he's going to have to duel to the death and probably get killed because he assaulted a prince or what have you. And then it's like, how much is it for you? A copper. And this gruff guy who's just like, just a working man or whatever. He's just like, you're one of us and you did the right thing against these fucking asshole dragons. You're with me. We're with you. It's great.
And even to the point, I mean, I guess slight spoilers, but then when we have a guy that's like, I'm with you. Like, I bought it completely. when he wasn't,
that
like,
guy, the traitor, yeah.
I was like, you motherfucker. Because I just assumed, like, yeah, no, this is where we're at now. Everyone respects Dunk.
That was great.
I'm going to ride out and get all these men and blah, blah, blah. Because I was getting confused. I was like, well, who are these other guys then? We already got, what are you talking? We got guys coming.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Got guys on guys.
But, and I mean, it is classic Game of Thrones too, where, like, it's not crazy fucking, I don't even remember with the Battle of the Bastards or whatever, but we do build to that like action type crescendo, even though yes, it's split up with flashbacks in the penultimate episode, which I do love. I love that we get to have. I like that style of having the big climax moment, but then still having some time to play in the aftermath of it a bit before we kind of set up what's to come in the next season. So. Yeah.
A classic Game of Thrones move, the penultimate episode battle sequence. And it's, in terms of viewership, it's done well. Warner Brothers Discovery, since we were talking about it, they announced that the show was averaging, 14 million views per episode in the US, 26 million worldwide. It's the third most watched premiere since the launch of HBO Max, soon to be Paramount Max HBO Plus. And so
Didn't
it's
it
only...
grow? Didn't it?
I think so. Exactly. Where I usually things tend to drop off, whereas I think the word of mouth was actually working for this show, and a lot of people seem to be enjoying it and talking about it, and it's getting good reviews. So hopefully that'll work as an indicator of what to make more of. Although, in terms of the premiere, it's behind House of the Dragon and Last of Us, which is understandable, but it was a really, really good first season, and if they can get the next season out next year, I'd say it'll be up there in terms of competing for good shows. I didn't have a great end to that sentence, but yeah, it's good.
Well, it's funny too because I mean, I was talking to my friend Jake, and I think he likes that other show. I keep forgetting the name, the House of the Dragon.
Yeah,
and I've told him like I don't like it. I think it sucks. Whatever.
But you haven't really given it a chance, have you? What have you watched?
I think I did watch like 4 episodes of the first season.
Maybe you have given it a chance.
And maybe I don't think it... I saying it sucks is wrong. I don't think it was bad.
It's not what you want.
That's why I do want to maybe give it another chance. And he was like, yeah, I have. And I was like, dude, I'm loving it. I couldn't get into the other spin-off, but I'm into this. And like, this isn't necessarily a bad remark, but I kind of took it as like, what is he trying to say here? He's like, yeah, I think they're doing a good job of keeping the Game of Thrones feel while also having kind of a straightforward hero tale. Is he calling me an idiot because I like a straightforward hero tale? Like, I don't like the elevated Game of Thrones subversion?
That's the only conclusion I can draw, Jim. Probably. I got that vibe. You should text him something mean. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I loved it. I can't wait for more. What a good show, dude.
Genuinely can't believe we're 3 for 3. It hasn't happened, I think, in the last 40 episodes of this. So, maybe it is a TV renaissance, as the TV critics say. Maybe we should be merging all these companies. Maybe we're the idiots. We'll find out. Time will tell. But anyway, those are just some final thoughts. Watch A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, aka The Adventures of Dunk and Egg, if you haven't. Are we talking about anything else? Are we wrapping this up, Jim? I feel like...
I guess, we're wrapping it up. I mean, time flies when you're talking about stuff you like.
Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot, so we got to savor it. But speaking of sending mean texts, you can reach us at showswhatyouknowshow@gmail.com if you want to send us an email, tell us what to chat about. You can also go to youtube.com/showswhatyouknow, and that's where we do the videos of this and everything. But of course, there's also showswhatyouknow.com for the podcast, for the stuff, all the bits, all the links to click. And for Jim, as you mentioned earlier, there's jimandthem.com for Jim's other podcast, where he also talks about Wonder Man, apparently. Fucking asshole. And there's awesomepedia.org, where you can hear me talk about A Knight's Tale at fucking length, if you want. So if you want to hear more Knight stuff, go to awesomepedia.org. Are those all the links?
One other TV thing, though, speaking of Jim and them, I do have a video up on the new Burbs TV show. If you want to hear me talk about a show I didn't like, then you can watch that one.
Burbs. I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to check that out at jimandthem.com and Jim and Them on YouTube.
Hell
Links. Hell yeah, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.